Good morning, students. So we are discussing about different types of lighting purpose. In the previous class, we had discussed about different lighting schemes, and that is street lighting. What are the principles which are used in the street lighting applications? Okay. In this session, we'll discuss about another different another types of lighting which is used in the different purpose. Okay, and this is the last bit of your second module, that's the industrial lighting and the flood lighting. Okay, in the previous class we discussed about the street lighting, so in the another is industrial lighting and the flood lighting. Okay, so industrial lighting, as the name itself says, industrial purpose, the lighting which is used for the industrial purpose or industrial applications, they are called as industrial lighting. Okay, so we'll discuss about industrial, what is industrial lighting and other things. So good lighting which will enables your workers in the factories or the industries, okay, or the building to carry out the work in a very efficient manner. So if the lighting is a poor lighting, so the works will be reduced. Okay, so that means the good lighting enables the workers in the factory buildings to carry out their visual task easily. So any visual task or any accurate tasks are required, so if you're having a proper lighting, then it is easy for them to do that particular work. Okay, quickly they will do it and without any fatigue, and move about in work areas safely. So they can move around in and around the work area very safely. So it also helps in cutting down the wastage and the rejects. So in utilizing a floor space efficiently and boosting the morals, thus in the improving the overall performance of the factory, the industrial lighting is a very must here. So the proper industrial lighting will enables so the to carry out the task easily, quickly, and without any losses. Okay, that's the purpose of industrial lighting. Okay, so institutions and rules, that means there are some of the rules that you have to follow for the industrial lighting applications. So first one is a illumination engineering society. There are some of the institutions, so there are some of the rules for the industrial lighting. So first one is a illumination engineering society is the first institution, and also NIOSH, that is National Institute of, okay, optional safety and health, occupational safety and health. Okay, then ISI, Indian Standard Institutions, and then Indian Factories Act. These are the some of the institutions, they will make the rules. So third and fourth, these are some of the institutions, they will make the rules. So based on those rules you have to follow while designing the lighting schemes for the industries. So illumination levels, so there are some of the factors to be considered while designing a illumination scheme for the industries. So first one is a task illumination. So illumination levels, there are few should be you have to consider. So one is illumination. So the quality of the light at the workplace is depends upon the visual task which you are going to carry out. Okay, individual work which what type of work which you are doing on the place, so you have the illumination level is also differs. So accurately, that means whatever the work which they are carrying out, it should not be hampered. Okay, so the individual worker can see the task clearly, accurately, and without any eye strain. Okay, so that's the main motto of the illumination purpose here. So that's the task illumination. Then lux, so defined as, it is lux is defined as the lumens of flux per meter square of the surface of the task. So lumen of flux per meter square of the space, so that's what is the lux. So how much lux is required on the surface, that's also you have to consider. Then based on the visibility parameters, so visibility parameters are the size of the task, so what is the task area, then brightness required, the brightness and contrast required, the visual capacity in terms of the time required to see the task, all those things you have to consider while designing the illumination schemes. So these are the, as I said, some of the institutions which will gives you some of the parameters while designing the illumination scheme for the different purpose. So the first one is the most difficult to, there are some of the precision values they have given. So most difficult seeing task such as extra fine assembly, then precision grading, and extra fine finishing, so that requires around 10,000 lux on the surface area. Then very difficult seeing tasks such as fine assembly, then high speed work, fine finishing, so they at least requires 1000 lux. Okay, then a difficult and a critical seeing tasks such as ordinary bench work and assembly machine shop, the finishing of medium and fine parts, then work phase, so at least minimum 500 lux of illumination is required. Then ordinary seeing tasks such as the automatic machines operations, rough grading, continuous process, the packing and shipping, so at least 300 lux of should be there. Then casual seeing tasks such as the stairways, washrooms and other surface areas and active storages, at least of 100 lux is to be maintained. Then for a rough seeing task such as corridors, passages, then inactive storages, at least 50 lux of this one. These are the different illumination levels for the different purpose here. Okay, then we'll discuss about the characteristics of good lighting. So characteristics of good lighting is nothing but, so there should not be glare. So if you say any lighting scheme is a good, there should not be glare. Glare is nothing but it's caused due to the uneven distribution of light source, or due to the excessive contrast or abstract changes in the brightness in the space and the time by seeing the light source or sun directly or after reflection from the polished surfaces. That means you can define glare it as it's a unusual sensation caused upon the human eye while exposing the eye to the bright source of light, so that is called as a glare. Okay, though some of the characteristics of good lighting means there should not be any glare while designing a lighting schemes. That's a one of the important characteristics. So next is uniform distribution of a light. That means the illumination or a light should be uniformly distributed. It is usually desirable to provide the reasonable uniform illuminations on the entire work area. Okay, then gradual transition of the brightness with a diversity ratio is not less than 0.7 from the one area to other within the field of vision. Not only ensures the reasonable uniformity but also minimizes the glare. So if you are doing like this, so it will minimize the glare. So then maximum and minimum illumination at any point should not be more than 1/6 above or below the average level of the area. That's another point you have to consider. Then brightness and contrast level. So the brightness of the object depends upon the amount of the light flux incident and the proportion of the light reflected and transmitted in the direction of the eye. The excessive of this brightness ratios, even though not severe enough to cause the glare, but may be seriously detrimental to the light quality. That means there should be a sufficient amount of the brightness and contrast should be maintained while designing the lighting schemes for the industries. Okay, then directions of light and diffusion. So this light gets diffused when it flow from various random directions. This is a common light characteristics of a light. So it will get diffused when it flow from the various random directions. Then so it is measured in terms of absence of sharp shadows. So the degree of diffusion desirable for the task depends upon the type of the works to be performed. So directions and the direction of the light and diffusion of the light, these 2 points you should be keep in mind while designing your lighting scheme for any of the industrial purpose. Then color of the light is also one of the very important point. So color of the light, so which color of the light is required for a particular task, that also you have to consider while designing a lighting scheme. Some of the tasks required, so corridors requires around yellow colored light. Okay, sodium mercury vapor lamps. Okay, so some of the precise tasks requires a sunlight. I mean the color of the light should be white, as bright as the daylight. Okay, there also to choose the proper coloring of the lights. That's also another important point. Then another is stroboscopic effect and flicker from the discharge lamps. Some of the discharge lamps there is a stroboscopic effect. So the rotating machineries they are used or other objects appear to slow down in the speed. Okay, the light output varying from alternating current to, and this produces the certain effects called the flicker. You know flicker, I think you have already observed in some of the places. So the flickering should not be there. Then color dynamics, as I said, a good white paint reflect around 80% and more of the light. So the space around the your industrial lighting should be also painted with a light colors, okay, or white color. So then day lighting is preferably to artificial lighting. That means solar illumination, so the direct sunlight being excluded and the sky radiations. So the direct sunlight over a moving machinery in the factory floors during the certain hours of the day can cause the undesirable visual fatigue and may become a source of danger. So daylighting, there should be some proper way to maintain the lighting schemes in the industrial purpose. So if you are not properly maintaining, that may cause the fatigue and make becomes the source, dangerous source. Okay, the principle of day lighting. So clear design skies. So principle of day lighting, there are some of the once again. So clear design sky, that means so the relative amount of sky radiations depends on the position of the sun defined by the altitude. Okay, so it should be it's clear sky opposite the sun corresponding to the solar at altitude of 15 degree. That means so clear design, the if you are using a day lighting scheme, or there are what we discussed are the artificial lighting. So if you are using the day lighting scheme, then there should be a proper design, sky lighting design should be maintained with a proper latitude and the day, number of days, number of I mean at what time the late lighting should be passed. Okay, everything you should be keep in mind. Okay, then is daylight factor. There are some of the factors you have to consider while designing the daylighting also. So those factors also you have to consider while designing the lighting scheme for the industries. Then building with a skylight, or it's also called as a flood lighting. So flood lighting is nothing but, so you might have seen some of the aesthetic buildings, okay, like forts and some of the government buildings you might have seen. So they are illuminated from the outside. Okay, so illuminated from the outside. So that why, because flood lighting is nothing but it is the lighting scheme which is used to enhance the beauty of the building during the night. So such lighting scheme is called as a flood lighting. So you can see the direct sunlight should be screened as far as possible. The materials of the transmission, these are all some of the factors which to be considered while designing the flood lighting scheme. Flood lighting is nothing but it is the lighting scheme which is used to enhance the beauty of the building during the night. You might have seen some of the aesthetic buildings, forts, okay, some of the government buildings, they are illuminated from the outside by the source of the light which is placed outside, and the light radiations will be allowed to fall on the building. Okay, that will enhance the beauty of that particular building. So that is called as a flood lighting scheme. So flood lighting is mainly to enhance the beauty of any of the building or any of the surface during the night. So in stadiums also is that is called as a flood lighting only, and some of the yards, that's also called as a flood lighting. So especially this flood lighting is used in the aesthetic buildings, then forts, then you need to enhance the beauty of the any of the government buildings and many more. So that is called as a flood lighting scheme. So these are the some of the lighting schemes which are used in the industrial purpose as well as flood lighting. So this is called as a industrial lighting. There are some of the factors to be considered while designing the industrial lighting and the flood lighting scheme. So with this, your second module of illumination will get over. So from next video we'll start with another third module, that's a traction systems. Okay, thank you.